Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on your screen. It is my pleasure that we have you with us and that we have our special guest today, Rajan Balasundaram from Bayezon AI. I would like shortly to introduce him. We have the pleasure to talk with him about from click and wait to talk and buy, and what agentic commerce in real life could be a fascinating game changer. Our today's guest is one of the few AI leaders who aren't just talking about the future of commerce, he's already shipping it. And this, since he stepped out of the dark, so to say, he was on, you could say, in the shadow or in stealth. And out of the stealth mode, he moved from the 6th of this, last week, 6th of March. And Rajan is founder and CEO of Bayezon AI. He's the architect behind the world's first end-to-end agentic commerce platform, a system where autonomous AI shopping agents handle everything from discovery to checkout with the philosophy, no clicks, no searches, just talk and buy. And I found this fabulous, and I'm excited. Before building Bayezon, Rajan engineered enterprise-scale AI platforms at Emarsys, where we met first, and Verint, shaping real-time personalization and decision intelligence for global retailers. Today, his technology is already deployed with international fashion, beauty, and special brands, some seeing conversion rates about 18% and significant gains in the average order value, AOV. That is fascinating if you follow such studies of McKinsey, BCG, which are quite impressive, and 18% is quite a number. If agentic commerce is the next frontier, Raj is the one of the pioneers defining it. Now, the call to action. Feel free to discuss with us. If you are on LinkedIn, give us a comment, or Facebook, or in your favorite channel. And we will have some fun together with you, as we normally love to take your vision, your questions, your ideas, and bring them to the table together with Raj. And starting off now, you describe Bayezon AI as the first end-to-end agentic commerce platform, Raj. What part of the traditional e-commerce stack becomes obsolete once agents take over?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ralph, Thomas.
It's
an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Every time we speak, it's something. The industry is changing, or it's like we've done some interesting stuff. So this time is no different. Before we go into what Bayezon does, but what I just want to give us like a preface, like pretext and context to what's happening.
Feel free.
If you think about, let's say, even 2 years ago, right? Search didn't change much. We kind of put something on the Google search bar and Google will say, oh, here are the 20, 30 pages that you can go and visit and then maybe find your own answer, right? So step number 1, I type something. Step number 2, go through the pages. Step number 3, read the pages. And step number 4 is somewhat arrive to a somewhat correct or wrong answer. That's what we did, right? If you think about that, that fundamentally has changed. Now, Google is gone. You know what? The moment you type a question, I'm going to give you an answer. So fundamentally, how we see things has changed. Yeah. Not to mention ChatGPT has done it, Perplexity has done it. All these agents have kind of taken step 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1 to 4. So the whole process is shortened and everybody's gotten used to it. So the whole world is being forced by consumers' change. It's not like, previously when we were designing AI, even at Emarsys and Verint and whatnot, we were like, what if we could design this in the back and make something more efficient? Yeah. And it was more of a proactive thing to do. Oh, what if we did it? It'll be more proactive. We can do something more efficient. This is the first time in the career I've seen where consumers have forced us to change.
Now, one could argue that half of what you described already changed with the advent of Amazon, because, I mean, after all, it's about buying something. You have an intent, so you don't go Google, you go Amazon. And whoop, you don't read a bunch of articles, you compare a bunch of products that may or may not fit.
Very true. Very true. And to go back to your point, Amazon still, you have to do the search, still produces your PLPs and PDPs, and then you end up buying, right? So, but now what's actually happening is customers have gotten used to it. Like consumers, like you and me, we're all getting used to it. We don't have time for unnecessary searching around and discovery. And hence, it's actually forcing all our brands to change the way they think. And hence, the advent of what I call as the Agentic Commerce Platforms, right? What is interesting is what I've observed in the last couple of years, and that's why we wanted to get into the game and like try this solve the problem, because I always think there's no point doing AI for the sake of doing AI. If there's a problem, exactly, right? What is the latest trend? Everybody like, let's just do AI for the sake of doing AI. So I always say, if there is a problem worth solving, let's solve it. Otherwise, just don't do it, right? If you think about what is happening to the commerce part of any business, whether it's B2B or a B2C, they are under pressure to find an answer for this shift in the consumer, right? If they don't do that, their business is going to be taken away. Like this is almost like the reinvention of e-commerce, except for the fact that this is a forced change. The same way everybody said, like, oh, at one point the mobile thing will be just a sideshow. Guess what? 80% of the businesses are done in mobile nowadays, right? And now it's like, why don't we just do some agentic commerce, AI stuff that's a sideshow? Guess what? In the next 12 to 14 months, 80% of the businesses will be forced through an agentic change, right? So it's happening. Sorry, please go ahead.
Now, fun part there. So, I mean, we started off with the brick and mortar store, then added the website, then added Amazon and marketplaces, then added our own app in order to not get hidden behind somebody else's premises, like the shopping mall, right? So that's, which Amazon is. Then we added WhatsApp business or Alibaba business or WeChat, whatever stuff is there on various parts of the planet. What prevents or what helps vendors, retailers not vanishing behind a bunch of entities and premises that are not theirs, including the agent, which is just one more, probably.
Thomas, I think you're hitting a super important point here, right? If you think about what Google AI wants to do, Perplexity, ChatGPT want to do is, what? They're suggesting don't go anywhere, just come and search here and buy here. That's what they're saying.
And they're offering their payment too.
and they want to take, here's an interesting thing. They announced this January, we'll take payments, we'll do all the payments, etc. This week or last week, they openly announced saying, you know what? I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to get somebody else to build an agent to do all the payment transactions via ChatGPT. So they've completely backtracked too, right? So trying to build a commerce experience. Sorry, you were saying something?
It doesn't matter from a retailer point of view. So you still have the commerce experience in your example, ChatGPT, or in WhatsApp, where you can pay, or in WeChat, where you can pay too. And your brand gets hidden.
That is the major problem here, because brands are very protective about how they portray themselves. Brands are very about, because like to your point the other day, we were talking, right? A shirt is a shirt, a shirt is a shirt. But when it comes from a brand, it's a different shirt, right? So the brand has a story, they have a way of presenting it to you, and like we want to buy some of that, right? But if you're presented in a generic interface where everything is presented in the same way, you kind of equalize everything and the brand story is gone. Now, Now, here's an interesting part. If the brand story is gone, what are the e-commerce companies going to do? What, they're not going to have a website then? Right? That's a very interesting question. So with that in premise, customers love experience. Gen Zs, for example, 80% of them said that we love an experience. And now comes the interesting part. If the experience they like is the agentic part of it, like where they want to ask a normal human sounding question and they want to get a human sounding answer and the presentation, if ChatGPT and Google and everybody else is providing that service way better than the brand's e-commerce website, nobody's going to come to the e-commerce website. So you have to provide a better agentic experience than what these agents can provide. And that is the forced change that all of these e-commerce companies are going through. Not just e-commerce, all retailers. End of, right? Whether it's B2B or B2C.
Isn't the base assumption of this line of argumentation that you have a brand affinity? That you are first looking, hey, I want Chanel, and then look at the shirt? So, or is that also maybe age dependent? Because I go there, so hey, I need a black t-shirt. And I don't care a flying F whether it's Chanel, Tommy Hilfiger, or Ralph Lauren, or whatever other funny stuff and brands I can mention. This, for example, is non-brand. So
I think
what is the base assumption there?
This is where, unfortunately, the three of us in this group don't belong to the demographic they sell to.
Okay.
Did you just call me old?
I said three of us. I'm including myself too, right?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It's no problem. We are from a different generation, you're right. And for instance, you see that Thomas is preferring round neck. I go for V type of t-shirts. And I look for the quality, such as if somebody is telling me fair trade, not made in some area from India, Pakistan, where I don't know how under which circumstances they are produced, but they tell me we do fair trade, we employ and pay the people properly, and this is the reason why you have to pay €5 per shirt and not €1.50. Then that is my decision now to go for that one, if it's a brand or not. My expectation is that you silently become based on an opportunity that Bayezon AI could be a savior for some brands.
Yeah.
Because you help them to be properly positioned. And I would like to make the comparison, like Thomas started with Amazon, and that you get fenced in an environment such as if you do not pay Amazon a bit more, such as in a search engine like Google, if you pay, you are first. And Amazon loves to get some more money. It's vanishing like in the Amadeus portal for airlines. If you do not pay properly, you are not on the first selected lists for your travel agencies. How can you help there?
So, I mean, we've been going down the fashion route, but I think we are forgetting a whole bunch of other stuff. Let me just give you another example. I'm going to go along the lines of what Thomas was saying, right? So let's pick something like a drill, right? A drill is a drill, no matter what, right? You get the same drill whether you buy it from, Home Depot, you buy it from Menards, you buy it from Ace Hardware. It's all the same. However, I always go to a certain shop, one of these shops, all the time, right? There's a very specific reason I go to that shop all the time. Because one, I'm very bad at DIY. Two, I always want to get advice on what I'm buying, right? And one of these three shops always gives me the best customer experience. Nothing different in pricing. They're all probably like $1 or $2 out here there when I'm buying like $100 worth of thing. Sometimes actually the shop I actually go to is slightly more expensive because they're slightly smaller, but they obviously give me the best experience, right? To your point, it's the same thing. I don't care where I buy it from, but I do go to a certain shop where they give me the best experience. Now that, if we translate into an agentic commerce world, agentic commerce exactly does that. It gives you that special experience that somebody in store can give you. And that is where it changes everything on its head. Because it's not all about just brand affinity, but it's what I call as a service with a smile, right? Yeah. And what we were missing all along on e-commerce. And that is usually a big deal. Thank you. Appreciate that. So to my point, it's not just brand affinity. So here's the thing: the real estate in e-commerce is very small, right? People have to ask customer questions. You can't have a separate chatbot for it. People have to search. You can't have a separate chatbot for it. People have to buy. You cannot have a separate chatbot for it, which is how every single company out there are trying to do. Oh, I want to do customer service. I'll do a chatbot. Well, I want to sell something. I'll do a chatbot. I want to provide search. I'm going to do a chatbot, right? But nobody's thinking about end customer who doesn't want multiple things to happen. They just want to go to one person, a shop, and go, you know what? My package didn't arrive. I want to buy this. Can you give me a discount? I want to check out.
Okay.
But now, for the sake of the argument, these days, well, since the advent of Google, and even more now, you basically don't need to leave your house. You open up your provider of choice. let's call them ChatGPT. No, let's call them Claude for just for a change.
Yeah.
And well, Claude tells you first what the best drill for your purpose is, and second, then, as you admittedly are a non-DIY expert, well, it makes the two of us, by the way, you also get a bunch of questions answered, if you dare asking them, or, well, over time, Claude probably knows you well enough that you are as good as putting holes into walls as I am. So the experience then is even better. And then Claude suggests you the cheapest drill, or the one that comes fastest, depends on what your need is. So why do you need the store then? And if you need the store, well, you still are with the store. The store brand is still hidden behind Claude.
It's a phenomenal question. This is where we combine the question you asked first and the question you asked now, right? So we're working with a luxury food retailer in the UK, right? They have a very specific way of selling biscuits and teas and jams and all sorts of stuff, right? If you go in store, the recommendations you get are phenomenal. Same product. You can get the same product in supermarkets as well, and also in their store, etc. But when you go to their store, their stories are different. So one of the things that we help the brands to do is to put the story behind the product.
Okay.
Right? The same way which cloud cannot do, because the brand's story does not exist within the cloud or ChatGPT or Google AI, which is a very unique thing to do. Right? And sorry, please go ahead. You were saying?
It is simply, I would support this statement, such as, if you move into Harrods, it is a dedicated atmosphere. It's not overwhelming, stuffed with anything to shop, but very focused. And you get advice if you like advice. You are not disturbed by wandering around, but there is always somebody at hand if you need some advice. And now I jump into what you're offering, because I imagine already, if I have my smartphone with me and I'm not utilizing as the customer who has gone through some checking or pre-selecting, I, as a clerk, do have the knowledgeable Bayezon AI at my hands to be a very knowledgeable advisor, such as I can guide him, I can ask him his purposes and what he would like to go, and I know him. suggest we have something which, with empathy and with the store design and the atmosphere, is creating a different experience than shopping on the screen.
Yeah. It'll be easy for Thomas when he goes to, Selfridges or Harrods. They'll just give him a black T-shirt. It's fine. So, you don't have to worry about it. He doesn't need any.
Have a fun story there. My last trip to Germany, the unknown and unmentioned airline, in combination with the logistics service provider that I probably should mention because they really suck, managed to not deliver my suitcase. So of course I went into the next store and went for 1 week's worth of black T-shirts, and well, the rest one needs for a week as well. But again, so I may not be the right audience there. I care a flying F about the brand. I want it fast and cheap. And that's part one. And part two is that of course is dangerous for the brands. So now how can brands work to not get hidden behind somebody else's storefront, which an LLM is? And we see that, or we see for years that yet another app doesn't cut the mustard.
Yeah.
So because, well, I already got more than 100 that update each other or update themselves quite regularly, which doesn't help. So the brand doesn't get found. So how do you envision that the brand gets found better in all this noise?
So a couple of we'll go a couple of layers down to get to that, but but we'll also talk about the other people who are not Thomas's and right. So because it's important to think.
You mean my daughters?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We work with quite a lot of fashion retailers, cosmetics retailers who are heavily influenced by social. And I know, Thomas, you have your opinion about social with your 3 girls. That's a different thing, right?
Australia's right.
Right. But if you think about that, they are heavily influenced by social. Their shopping culture is based on social media, etc. So which means they cater these agentic experiences based on what they see in those channels. And that is actually helping them to differentiate from them actually going to ChatGPT and trying to buy it, or Google to go and buy it, or Perplexity to go in. So that is one part of the equation. It's what we call as a brand identity, culture, and stuff like that. So that's one part. Let's talk about the second part, which is more the technology side of things. Google announced this January at NRF that they're opening up UCP, right, which is Universal Commerce Protocol. Simply put, Google is saying, you know what? When somebody's asking us questions, we're going to ask the questions to the ecosystem. Let's say Thomas comes. Well, I'm not going to take Thomas' example because yours is the boring example. Let's do something else. Right? Let's say somebody else is saying, hey, I'm looking for a dress for a night out. Young Gen Zs were doing that, right? When somebody's asking that question to Google, their Google agent is going to spread their tentacles out into the net and going, hey, are there any other agents out there who have a party dress for a night out in Soho, right? And they're expecting the agents to reply back saying, hey, I've got a party dress for a night out in Soho, and present the answers, which they'll present back to the customers, right? And the agents on the other side are none but agents which are presented on the website, i.e. Agentic Commerce Platforms.
How is that different, apart from the technology being far more expensive from a running point of view to what I see in Google right now? I want a LBD for my night out in Soho, and I get a bunch of suggestions, including the images.
But here's the interesting part. If you didn't have an agent, you don't even participate in that search anymore. That's where they're all headed. And to the point, even ChatGPT is announced now, as of last week, saying, you know what, if you want something to happen and if you want people to buy on our ChatGPT, we're not going to do anything. You need to bring your own agent to do that. So there is an agent-to-agent handoff protocols which are already set as a framework for the future. It's done. Like, it's not like it's cooking up or it's in the future or it's futuristic. It's already set, right? Which actually means the entire e-commerce ecosystem will become agentic. There's nothing else to talk about that, right? So customers are forcing something for us to do, like different way of searching and interacting and discovering, etc. The second part is the ecosystem itself is changing. The frameworks of the ecosystems are changing. So it's not a choice to go, okay, should I really invest in agents? It's not a choice anymore. Whether they use us or anybody else, they better prepare for it. Otherwise, they're not in the game. And that's one thing. The other thing, let's talk about the positive effects of it, which is why we should be thinking about it, right? So the ones we are talking about, the customers right now, the customers we're working with, many of them kind of have the industry average of about 2% conversion rate. And this 2% conversion rate hasn't changed for the past 2 decades, ever since the e-commerce came, whatever. And guess what? Like, millions of dollars go into it. Like, every year, there's something new coming in. There's some sort of a new search, new optimization, new test and target, new this and new that. But the industry average never changed, right? The conversion rates never really changed, which points to a fundamental problem that the search discovery presentation was not up to the point for the consumers. And now, with the new advent of more of an agentic commerce routines and UIs and user interfaces, we're actually seeing multiple folds of increase in conversion rates. Whether, we all want to argue whether it's required or not, data speaks for itself, right? And to the next point, thinking about it is, do we optimize the house of cards, as I call it, right, where the e-commerce is built on like stuff, or do we go, well, the customers are changing, the ecosystem is changing, should we just reimagine this completely, right? That question is now. Every brand will have to ask that question.
Okay.
Whether they like it or not, they have to ask that question right now, right? And that's where we are in a point of time, right? Because the data has been presented. Google has put the stake down. OpenAI has said what they need to say. So many people experimented and failed. That's a whole new different ballgame. I've seen a lot of people do it. Companies like us, there are a few companies like us who do it. They've shown positive outputs of improved conversion rates. We're working with retailers who are even thinking, you know what, we want to get rid of the site search we have. We want to get rid of all the page optimization things we have. And we want to concentrate more on agentic commerce. So the data has been presented, but all e-commerce people are presented with one thing is, what are we going to do? Are we going to optimize the pile of thing we have? Or should we reimagine this, go customer first and do something different? And that's going to take.
I like the approach going customer first, but you mentioned at least in the last 5 minutes, 10 times data. And here we go. Shitty data is not the source for real fun. Yeah. So why might the biggest barrier for companies be their own data? And are they honestly not really aware that they need to get a proper act done before they have more fun out of such supporting artificial intelligence and giving them and their customers the right advice? Where do we stand here? What's your perspective on that?
I'm old school. It's very old school, where even my professors used to say, if you didn't know your data, you shouldn't be doing neural networks, right? I mean, this was the old name for, it's an old name for AI, was what we used to call it, right? So I still remember that. Even at Emarsys, when we were working in Verint and whatnot, we didn't say, you know what, we're just going to do AI. We started off with the data platform.
Okay.
Creating the data platform ground up is so critical in putting anything in place. It's like building, right? So if you don't have the foundation, doesn't matter how fancy the house is, it's just going to fall down. Guess what? In the last 2 to 3 years, I'm pretty sure you've met a lot of these CIOs, CTOs who've spent tons of money on AI because they were forced to. It's called fear of missing out, the FOMO factor, right? Everybody's like, I want to do AI. I'm just going to spend like 5, 10, 20 million on it. But what they forgot is that the data was not there to support it. So what happened? Toppling buildings, earthquakes, like washouts.
And now they are in FOFU.
Exactly.
Fear of effing up.
So that's already happened. It's already happened now. So
what a surprise! What a surprise!
Yeah. The price is like you get fired.
So it is as I wanted to jump in, such as you are working not only with, or you have your experiences with a lot of products, but you are working with Gemini, and you're working, for instance, in the Commerce Cloud or in the Data Cloud environment from Salesforce, and there's surroundings such as if you jump in and a customer is telling you in which ecosystem he is working and steering his bots, what is your advice that he properly cleans data?
It's an interesting one, because I ended up building CDP for Emarsys. Remember, like we all had sessions where we were talking about CDPs, the next thing which is going to save the human planet and solve world. I was guilty too. Right? So, let's just do CDP, right? Let's just put everything in what we know about customers. And I did realize when we kind of came to a point at Emarsys, we couldn't really crack the personalization problem. We were there, but we were not quite there, right? Something was missing, right?
Okay.
That's because we were trying to hand it off to the e-commerce platform, and the e-commerce platform didn't know what was happening. The customers had the same problem. So now, the other side of the coin is, do we know everything about the product? That question has never been asked, right? So my point of view was, you need to know everything about the customer and the customer's intent in real time. That's the most important thing, because if you see my wife shop, it's amazing, because she'll shop for herself, for my daughter, for myself, for my dog at the same time, right? Sometimes on the same site.
Efficient.
So which means you cannot say, oh, this person is a persona X and this person is going to do it, which is what all CDPs did, right? And we spend millions of dollars on it. That's by the way. Now, the other side of it is, do we know everything about the product? No. A customer, like a brand, will have 50,000 products, 100,000 products. You hardly know anything about it. Some catalog information, and that's it. So what we were deciding is, let's build a product intelligence platform which can respond to the customer's intent in real time.
Okay.
Where if the customer says, hey, I want to buy it for my daughter, and she's going for a school race, and I want this, this, and this, and we go, yep, we got it. Here you go. Right? Oh, my husband is actually going to go play golf. He likes these kind of shirts. He wants red, white, and blue because it's like Flag Day. Okay, here you go. Right? She has a small window to buy, and she wants to get everything done. So now the first part was solved. The customer data problem was kind of solved with the CDP, but nobody really solved the problem, the product intelligence platform, which is what we started with. And we built ground up our product intelligence platform. The agentic part you see here on top is just 1% of the bigger tip of the iceberg.
It's the delivery.
It's the delivery.
Do the companies have the product data at all?
They don't.
That is needed.
They don't, and that's where the problem starts.
Oops.
Where do you get it then?
We have to synthesize it. A lot of it has to be synthesized.
Ah.
Like, for example, if we take, to your point, I mean, we come back to the drill, right? And the drill, if you look at the product pages, it's got all the technical requirements it needs. Wattage, voltage, torque, blah, 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 everything else. If I look at it going, I'm an engineer, by the way, but still like, nah, I don't know what this is. What it needs is, okay, this is for a soft wall. This is for a wooden application. This is going to be used for a amateur DIY, and this will last for 3 hours. That is the type of information which needs not only summarizing, but also presenting in real time. And that's what humans did in the shop. They were like, oh, so you're just an unqualified DIYer. You know what? I've got the right one for you, because they have it in their back of the head, what we call as the metadata, which they present the product.
As you just do not want to hallucinate that data, where do you synthesize it from if the vendor doesn't have it?
That is a phenomenal question. I was hoping that you'd ask me that question.
We don't like to disappoint.
There are
I've got my briefing notes here.
I love it. So here's an interesting thing. I'm going to go back to the cloud example we spoke about, the OpenAI, etc., and Google. They are meant to please the consumer. They are bound to hallucinate. They'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Until you catch it making a mistake, it's going to continue making mistakes. Right? Like, hey, I didn't want this, but you said that. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't say it. And then it'll change the answer, because it is bound to be creative. It's bound to be open. It wants to please you. And that's what those agents are built for. Right? Agentic commerce is built on a fact. It doesn't change the fact. Right? Synthesizing is based on fact, not a creative output. That's the difference. And everything we do, at least, I'm not sure about the other people who do it, in our Agentic Commerce platform, we don't take any other data other than what the retailer actually has, whether they have it in their catalog or whether they have it in their call records, like they're two people talking about the product, or they may have manuals, or they have sales sheets, which actually helps people sell. We ingest all of that, which is their proprietary data, and then we synthesize the data, which is completely different.
And with exactly that, I was hoping that as we had a little conversation up front, that could be the helping hand also for the mom and pop shops and for the real existing on-site shops, if they have an e-commerce platform or not, but they are still shops, and that they get a proper advisory experience out of the newly won knowledge you help them to find and digest and synthesize, so to say.
It's interesting. AI has become the great equalizer. It's going to equalize e-commerce for sure, because people who could have afforded those expensive agencies to create all these expensive outputs and searches and like teams of search people and teams of this and that, and the house of cards problem I said, right? Will come to an equalization.
No, here. That brings us to another fun part. If everything is created equal, mediocre, I call it instant mediocrity, by the way, then everything is noise. How do I create signal then? How do I get found as a brand? Back to the original question then.
Which comes to the point, brand loyalty becomes very important, right? Brand presence becomes very important. Most importantly, you keep your customers happy, which becomes important. That's the bottom line of retail.
But this comes only, let's say this is a trailing indicator, right?
Sure.
So what you want is a leading one. Well, not an indicator, but a leading signal that helps you getting purchased at the outset. And if I'm comparing again the agentic commerce world via putting a prompt into ChatGPT and or Google that via UCP manages to ask all the other bots that are around there, which is the best black shirt for Thomas or the drill that Raj needs, then they all do the same as the search force. They compete for my attention. And probably the first ones that come up are like on Google and on Amazon, the ones that paid most for the ad. They compete for my attention. So how does an agentic technology or a product intelligence technology not make sure, but increase the likelihood that, well, for the drill, Hilti is found and not some knockoff brand from somewhere?
Yeah. What is interesting about it is it's purely going to be the context and trust. There are two things which UCP is going to take care of as well, and a lot of other algorithms, right? While algorithms like the SEO type algorithms were kind of like biased towards the ROAS and like people clicking and buying, etc. But now the new culture of the whole UCP is around trust. How contextual is your search and how contextual is your result? How closely does it match and how quickly people interact with it? The more they interact with it, it provides confidence to their algorithm, right? So it all boils down to how quickly you can understand the context and how quickly you can respond in context to that question. That's all it's going to boil down to, which is no different, by the way, if you think about how the old school SEO was originally formed, if anybody even remembered that, right? If you were relevant, you used to be up. That was the original SEO, right? If you all go back to the basics of SEOs, if you were relevant, you were up. But now SEO is like a whole black box full of things and like some spaghetti noodles kind of stuff which happens. So this is like the new genesis of SEO, if you will, where we're talking more about the agents having more context, more trust, and actually giving not only to the consumers on the website, but also the agents as well.
No, pure curiosity, because this is a slight detour. How do technologies like My Terms contribute here, if you know it at all?
No, please give me a little bit of a background on that.
Yeah, My Terms is an upcoming, well, just released IEEE standard that shall lead to, let's say, trust being established, and that via, in a nutshell, not via the terms and conditions being dictated by some vendor on cost of the buyer, but, well, let's call it simple negotiation of acceptable terms.
You will recall Nitin from SAP. We had him on the show and he was telling us a lot about this.
My Terms, yeah. This is, I mean, now by the looks of it, what I'm hearing is it's kind of standardized, but it's not something which is not out of the reach.
It's independent of bots, so I just punched I can punch it in the public chat as well.
Yeah.
Which is my article about that, of course, and not the...
I would love to read that, by the way. But if you step out of now to the next 12, 24 months, where I would like the industry to go is that Ralph, Thomas, Raj, we all own our own agents, and our own agents have their own protocols and own knowledge, which only belongs to us. And when we go and make a purchase, to your point, we actually have our own way of doing things and our own terms, in this case, the My Terms thing, right? So if that is what is going to happen, like moving out into the future, which is 12, 24 months, the other agent will have to negotiate with our own agent, if you will, right? So, and it's not far out. We already do that. I wouldn't say explicitly, but implicitly. Like, for example, if we find that the customers are not interested in something, if the sentiment is failing, and we offer different discounts and like give them different actions, it is a form of I'm going to call it simple negotiation, but that can be extrapolated to a whole new different ballgame, right? So yeah, hopefully that kind of covered that angle. But I'm more interested to see what the My Terms is all about. So I got to go and see that.
Yeah, have a look. So that's might be quite interesting, because as said, so the ultimate objective that a retailer or a vendor needs to have is coming out ahead. In earlier times, well, in traditional e-commerce times, SEO helped a lot. Now this converts to what is GEO right now, and the question is whether that is good enough. Because ultimately, my bot asks your bots to compete. This is the well, the ultimate scenario that puts all three of us out of the equation and lets the things done by our technologies. And that again puts the brand behind the scenes.
True, but I truly believe that no matter what changes are going to happen, no matter how advanced the tech is going to get, we as humans will have affinity towards brands, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's how we feel about. We should. I mean, I do.
Really? Let's put that scenario into a context. So,
yeah.
What you ultimately want is a problem solved. Yeah, so you don't want an LBD just because you want an LBD. Well, unless you're like my daughters, but what you want is look great when going out.
Yeah.
In Zoho. Yeah. Or in with a drill, you want a great hole, the greatest possible hole in the ceiling.
The biggest hole possible.
Yeah, not the biggest hole, but the greatest hole possible. Yeah. So make the hole great again. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want a drill, you want a hole.
Yeah.
So and this abstracts things totally away from the brand. So you don't want the most expensive drill. You want, based upon, well, a couple of additional constraints, like your budget, and maybe you want a second hole or a third one, even a fourth, in different materials. You want the best suited tool.
Yeah.
And whether this has brand A, brand B, brand C on it, at the end, should not matter. It really should not matter, because brand A, which you like more, doesn't do the job as good as brand B.
Well, this is a very holy problem that we're having here, right? So
holy problem. It's holy. Lots of holes, yeah.
So, but every product that I buy and you buy is non-emotional. There are things that we buy which are non-emotional, like this one, there's no brand, I like it without brands, I buy it without brands, right? Yeah. But I also play golf, right? I don't buy golf equipments which are non-branded. I'm very specific about a certain brand of golf equipment because I like what they stand for. There are other brands, they're equally good, they're for the level of golf I play, it doesn't matter what brand I buy. End of story. It doesn't matter. But
that's the two of us.
Exactly, right. But I do go for a certain brand because I like what they stand for. There's a certain ethics to it they do. There are certain things they do which I like. Like, for example, I buy my rainwear very specifically from one brand, like my jackets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm proud to buy that brand because that tells me what they stand for.
There's only one of them, right?
What I stand for.
Yeah.
So I'm agreeing with you on that. Some of them doesn't matter. If you're putting a hole in there, it doesn't matter. If I'm having a blue t-shirt, black t-shirt, doesn't matter. But there are certain things, like me, I'm pretty sure every one of us will have something that we want to be associated with a brand.
Yeah.
then brands make a difference. And it could be something like, I've seen people who do DIY who actually wear branded DIY shirts, right? Even when they're going on I've seen people actually playing golf with a DIY branded t-shirts.
Well, they hopefully get paid for it.
But maybe they get paid for it. Yeah. But some of them wear it as a fashion statement nowadays. There are hardware fashion statements nowadays. I've seen Gen Zs buying Carhartt type stuff, which is meant for woodworkers and DIY people and stuff like that, which has become fashion nowadays because people love what they stand for.
Yeah.
So it's not everything about, I want to solve a problem. That's probably Ralph and Thomas and Raj's opinion of, we just want the problem solved. We don't care.
Job to be done. Yeah.
But there are, unfortunately, humans out there who care about the brand. So, let's just put it this way. It'll matter a lot.
Fortunately for the retailers.
Fortunately for the retailers. Otherwise, we'll all become monotons and robots, right? So the brand story is important. The agentic commerce helps them to control the narrative, helps them give a better experience that they can get from, etc. So I think that's where the next shift comes to play.
How do you help those ones which have already decided to become your customers, that they have a better conversion rate than others?
Yeah.
So the number I mentioned, the 18%, is just a little teaser.
Yeah, what is interesting that we do is our implementation is very quick because we don't take a lot of time. We already have prepackaged implementations for Salesforce Commerce Cloud, SAP Commerce Cloud, Shopify. Even if they have their home built systems, we kind of help them implement into it. But where we actually make a huge difference is some of them will come and say, you know what, we sell industrial automation car parts. It does not apply to us, and we don't understand how it would work for us, right? We actually build a prototype for them. We're like, hey, this is how it could work for you. Experiment it, see what you think, right? And we actually build it for them, and we kind of take them through the journey, if you will, right? Because it's not a point where everybody goes, you know what, I'm going to get up today, I'm going to buy Agentic Commerce Platform. People are going through the journey. People are confused. And I've had CIOs and CTOs whom I talk to, they're like, you know what, we experimented with the chatbot before. We spent a lot of money in the chatbot, and we don't want to do it ever again. And we go, actually, this is not a chatbot. You have to think about it as a completely different user experience that you're going to provide for the customer. So we have to re-educate them and also put some ointment on the wound they've had in the past with AI experiments. So there's a lot of re-education going on. There's a lot of comforting going on, giving them confidence building. So our job is not that easy. You know what I mean, right? We're not just trying to get the platform out there. We're also re-educating the market on this one. So hopefully with leaders like you, more people will get to know about what is good, what they shouldn't do, etc. So, it's an education for the market. It's a tough time to be in it.
Telling about tough times. We are 5 minutes to the hour, and that would be an opportunity to go to our lately introduced lightning round, such as shoot a question and you have 1 to 2 sentences to answer. And I would like to start, and Thomas then will place the next one. Honest. What problem does Bayezon solve in 1 sentence?
No jargon.
No jargon. So we help brands improve their conversion rates and average order value. Period.
Cool. Okay, I lost the buzzword count. If there's one retail myth, which one would you want to kill for good?
Which one?
If there's one retail myth, methodology, MYTH. Sorry for the bloody accent.
Yeah. No.
Which one would you like to kill for good?
The myth being that a consumer. No, I'm not trying to talk about the accent here. Even English is not my primary language, so it doesn't matter. So the myth being that they think people have to spend more time on the website to convert and improve the average order value. That's been the statistics we had until last year. That is not just busted, it's actually thrown out of the water, because the data is suggesting people spend half the amount of time on their converting and they're buying more. It has been a myth so far only because of all the restrictions we had in e-commerce. Simply put.
What's the most surprising shopper behavior your agents revealed?
That everything is not just a straightforward question. We've seen some shoppers talk about their emotions even before they asked a question about the product. That for me we were like, oh my God. Like for the first 10 turns, this person that we were seeing was talking about her problem because she was heavily pregnant and she was trying to buy a beachwear. And she hasn't even gone to the product yet. So imagine that person is actually shopping, who's used to quickly buying a beachwear, now is pregnant, they don't know what to do, they're talking about the emotions, and then the person is saying, oh, I want this. After like 10, 11 turns, we were like seeing all of that. So shopping is not just a form of, I want to buy a black t-shirt. That's how Thomas buys. We know that. Put emotions before they buy something. And that's one of the, for me, for being in the industry for 20 years.
Hey, there is an emotion before there's grief, because my old black t-shirt is gone.
Grief. Oh, I have a hole in my old black t-shirt. I'll buy exactly the same, so that nobody will know I had a hole in the previous t-shirt.
But in this typical emotional situation you just described, you became like rocket science, the speed of light, helping hand and hero for that lady. Yeah.
Art tech, yes, not me. Thankfully, not me.
Okay.
Broken down. Because I'm not great at handling emotions, so
Next one. So we had it before, but in one sentence, how can a retailer avoid that the brand vanishes behind anonymous infrastructure, like the LLM, like a messenger, like whatever?
Stay unique to your brand. That's the only thing I will say. Create your narrative. Don't be shying away from your narrative, which is the biggest thing to do. And invest in the tech to train your narrative. That's very important. Don't say like, oh, ChatGPT is not telling the way we want to tell the story. No, get your own model. Invest in it. Tell your model to tell the story that you would tell. Right? There are free models out there, like open source models out there. Invest time and effort in training an agent to behave and feel and walk and talk and behave like how your brand persona would. So that's a big investment brands need to do. There's no escaping that, right? Whether you get an agentic commerce platform, otherwise, no. That investment is a must. Combined with, I always say, foundation, data, right? So that's the biggest thing you need to do.
Please finish the sentence. The future of e-commerce will be...
I always should have finished as agentic commerce, but I'm not going to do that. The future of e-commerce is in the hands of the consumer and the way they want to use e-commerce. We as brands and vendors, everybody will have to cater to it. Whether today it's agentic commerce, Tomorrow it's some other type of commerce, God knows. But the most important thing is consumers dictate how e-commerce needs to be, right? If you don't change, you're done. And that's how I would see it.
Wow. Okay.
Ta-da!
Yep. Applause for that one. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was a lot of interesting insight and good discussion. So you reacted well to my yanking of your chain.
And you seem to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just what we do.
Thanks also to everybody else who's still there. And there are a few, luckily, which is good, actually. And hopefully you all tune in when we next week talk about something as exciting as data sovereignty, which is, well, is it a fig leaf or is it something that is real? With our guest, Christian Knoll.
Till then,
see you next week.
take care